In this lesson, we would talk about shapes. Of all the shapes that we see around us, there are two major types of shapes. One is called 2D shapes and the other is called 3D shapes. 2D shapes are simple shapes that everybody knows. We have triangle, square, circle, rectangle. There are many more 2D shapes. So just a simple definition of a 2D shape is that 2D shapes are the shapes that cannot hold anything in them. So these are just kind of flat shapes that can be drawn on the paper. Whereas when we talk about 3D shapes, these are the shapes that can hold something inside them. And 3D shapes are divided into two basic types. One is called prisms. One is called pyramids. Let's talk about 2D shapes first. So these are the shapes that can be drawn on the paper or that cannot hold anything inside them. How do we describe a 2D shape? Let's say we take this shape. We know this shape has three sides. It's called a triangle. So whenever we describe a 2D shape, we describe it using its sides. Triangle has 1, 2, and 3 sides. We can describe it using its vertices. Vertices are these corners where the sides meet, and we have 1, 2, and 3 vertices. Next shape that we describe is a square. Square has how many sides? 1, 2, 3, and 4. How many vertices square has? Again, vertices are the corners. So we have corner 1, corner 2, corner 3, corner 4. We would usually find sides and vertices to be equal in a 2D shape. Now one more thing we have to keep in mind here in this shape is that we see these two opposite sides. They are running in the same manner. So anything that runs in the same pattern is called parallel sides. So in a square we have parallel sides, whereas in the triangle we have no parallel sides. And how many parallel sides do we have? We have this side parallel to this side, and we have this side parallel to this side. So we have altogether two pairs of parallel sides. Let's talk about another simple 2D shape called a circle. When it comes to sides, circle has no sides. We don't see any defined sides on a circle. So it has no sides. If there are no sides, definitely there will be no vertices. So again, 0 vertices. Because there are no sides, so definitely there will be no parallel sides. These are some simple 2D shapes. There are more 2D shapes apart from these shapes, but we always describe the 2D shapes using these parameters. That is sides, vertices, and how many parallel sides they have. Let's talk about 3D shapes now. We discussed earlier that 3D shapes are going to be two types. One is prisms and one is pyramids, and 3D shapes would always be able to hold something inside them. Now how do prisms look like? Prisms would always have two same bases opposite to each other. For example, if I have a rectangle base and I connect my similar vertices. What do we mean by similar vertices? You see this top left corner and the top left corner is connected. Bottom left corner and bottom left corner is connected. Top right corner is connected. Bottom right and bottom right corner is connected. So in order to draw prisms, we just make two opposite bases that have to be exactly same and then just connect the corresponding corners, and we should be able to get a prism. One thing we have to keep in mind is that when we are making prisms, we don't place them exactly opposite to each other, because if we make it like this, it's hard for us to connect the sides. You see? It's very hard for us to connect the sides and we won't be able to get the proper image. So just place them a little bit side to side. So this base is on the little bit this side. So just place this base opposite to this, either moved on the right side or a little bit on the left side. We do not need this image, so we would just erase this. Next we have is the pyramid. For pyramid, let's take the same base like we had a rectangular base here. We take the same rectangular base here. But for pyramids, we do not have to have the same opposite base on the other side. All we need to do is just make a tip right in the middle of the shape, away from it, and connect all the corners of the shape drawn with that tip. And the shape that we get is called a pyramid. There are different types of prisms and pyramids, and how do we decide their names? The names of prisms and pyramids are always decided on the basis of their bases. So in this case, we have a rectangular base, so we call it rectangle based prism. Here we have again a rectangular base, so we call it a rectangle based pyramid. Similarly, if somebody asks you to draw a circular prism, so you make a circle You make opposite circle. Because circle we do not have defined corners, so we can just make them right across each other, and all we have to do is just connect it like this. So the circle based prism has a specific name called cylinder. If we want to make a circle based pyramid, we would be getting what is called a cone. So this also has a specific name. Let's say if somebody asks us to make a triangle based prism, all we have to do is just make two triangles exactly same opposite to each other, because triangle corners are really well defined, so we can make them across each other. Connect the similar corners. This is called triangle based prism. If we want to make a triangle based pyramid, we make a triangle, we make a dot a little bit away from the triangle and connect all the corners to that dot, and what we get is we call it a triangle based pyramid. Let's do another drawing just for the sake of practice. Let's say we make a square. We know square has all four sides equal. We'll just make it a little bit on the right side, the opposite face or the opposite base. We connect the corners. So here we connect the top left and the top left corner together. Similarly, bottom left with bottom left. Similarly, top right with top right, and bottom right with bottom right. And what we get is a square based prism. If we make a square and we connect to the dot all four corners of the square, we call it a square based pyramid. Now going back to the original 3D shape that we started drawing, always remember any 3D shape is defined with these three things. One is called faces, second is called edges, and third is vertices. Let's talk about the faces in this prism. Face is basically every side of the prism. So here in this prism we have a bottom face, you can see it. We have a top face. Let's make it with a different color. So this is our top face. Then we have a side face, this side face, and then this side face. And then we have the faces on the two bases, bottom face and top face. So how many faces did we have in total is 6 faces. Now what do you mean by edges? On a 3D shape, edges are basically sides of the shape. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. We have 12 edges. Next thing that can describe a 3D shape is called vertices. Vertices are just the corners. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 corners. So we have 8 vertices. Let's count the faces on this pyramid. We have one bottom face. Then we have these side faces. This is face number 2, face number 3. Then we have face number 4 in the front. And there'll be a face number 5 at the back. So altogether we would have 5 faces. How many sides we have? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we have 8 edges. And how many vertices we have is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 vertices. So this is how we get our faces, edges, and vertices. So don't you think that finding the number of faces, edges, and vertices is a tedious job, right? What if we miss something out? We would get wrong number of faces, edges, or vertices. Therefore, we have made a simple formula to figure out faces, edges, and vertices for both prisms and pyramids. Let's go over those formulas. And the formula is, if in case of prisms we want to find out the number of faces, all we have to do is just take the base number of sides, add 2 to it. If we want to find out vertices, we take base number of sides, multiply 2 with that. And if we want to find out the edges, take the base number of sides and multiply it by 3. So these are the formulas that we have to remember, and these formulas make our life easier to figure out the faces, vertices, edges of a prism. Let's try this on any prism. So let's make a triangle based prism. If we want to find out the number of faces, your base is a triangle and the number of sides of a triangle is 1, 2, and 3. So faces is going to be 3 plus 2, which is 5 faces. If we want to find out vertices, we'll do 3 times 2, that is 6 vertices. And if we want to find out the edges, we do 3 times 3, that is 9 edges. If we want to actually test them, let's test the edges first. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And we got 9 edges. Let's test the vertices. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we got 6 vertices. Let's test the faces. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 this face, right exactly on the base. So we have altogether 5 faces. So just remember these formulas and then we'll be able to find out the faces, vertices, and edges. Similarly, we have a formula for pyramids. For pyramids, if we want to find out the number of faces, we just have to do base number of sides plus 1. If we want to find out the number of vertices, we would do base number of sides plus 1 again. And if we want to find out the edges, we would do base number of sides times 2. Let's test this. Let's say we make a triangle base pyramid. Let's count the number of faces. We have 1, 2, 3, and you see this one right coming in front of you? 4. So we have how many faces in this pyramid is? 4. And how do we get it? Because the base is a triangle, so we have 3 sides. The formula is base number of sides plus 1. So faces is 3 plus 1 is 4. Let's test the vertices. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the formula for vertices is base number of sides plus 1 again. So we have vertices also 3 plus 1 equal to 4. Let's test the edges. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So edges formula is base number of sides times 2. We have 3 side lengths times 2, and that would give us 6. So this is how we make our life easier in order to find out faces, vertices, and edges in prisms and pyramids.